All right, there we go. So we are looking at the past week. Today is September 30th already.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it.
It's nuts.
It's insane. There are a total of 2,288 active listings in the MLS,
Okay.
which is up a little bit from last week, and
Nice.
it's up 15% from
Last year or
2 years
2022?
ago.
Okay.
Yep. And it's down 3% from last year,
Okay.
which I think would be more accurate to compare to. Or no, wait. I always read this wrong. 1982 last year.
Or last year was down 3%.
3%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
we're at
up
15%.
3%. Yeah. It's up
Yep.
15%, I guess, from 2022, and it's up 3% from last year. Does that sound right?
I really should know how to read this better. Here's what I know. The current average is 1785 and we're at 2288.
Yeah.
So we have more inventory than the average
Right.
since we've been tracking. So that's a good thing. Um, and we have more listings than we had last week. So those tell us that when we have more listings and we're seeing them stay on, and Jennifer mentioned at the team meeting that we are surely transitioning into a buyer's market.
Right.
Active listings in the last 7 days, that number is down from last week. We had 296 last week and 241 this week.
Huh.
It's still up from the current average though, but we are down from last week. Pendings in the last 7 days, down, 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 right?
Hmm.
We're down from last week. We're down from the average. We're down. So we have more listings, less going pending. So
Okay.
that either is talking about the quality of the home, the price of the home, or the quality of our buyers.
Okay.
Sold in the last 7 days, down, right? We were at 173 last week. Our average is 176. We had over 200 in 2022 and 2023. We only had 154 in the last week.
Wow.
That's down. Average days on market going up, which all makes sense, right? More
Yes.
listings, fewer pendings, fewer solds equals more days on market.
Right.
So it's 41. We're still right around the current average. Current average is 42. Last year it was 40. But you can see if we go back throughout the summer, we were hanging out in the 20s and 30s. And then
And
we
so
started
that line would explain the dip in price in the next column, correct?
there's probably been some, look, you can see price reductions is up to
Yeah.
234,
Right.
or 634, which is up from last week, up from 23, way up from 22. We weren't price reducing in 2022. We were just selling everything.
Right. Right.
Um, but yeah, so the longer things sit on market, the more price reductions we see,
Makes sense.
which goes back to why things are staying on the market. Is it the house? Is it the price? Or is it the buyer?
Mm-hmm.
And that average price this week was 330,944. Again, remember this is single family homes in Allegheny County.
Okay.
And that number is up from 22, 23, and from the current average.
Huh.
It is up. Jennifer's the one who pulls these numbers, and she'll always take a look and to see like maybe if you go up right here, like 400 was the current average. Like maybe a large $1 million or 2 million, $2 million houses sold.
I
To
see.
skew the numbers a little bit, but I mean we've been hanging in the mid threes here for
For
a
a while.
while. So,
Right.
and then that price reduction of 634, sales price to list price is 98%. That's up a little bit just from last week, but we're staying right in that range. I mean, we're at 98, 97 for a couple weeks here. And that's the same with the average in 22 and 23. And that conversation is so important. And I was just talking to Tim about this last week, was he has a listing that's back on market and he's not getting any action. And he's like, I'm priced well. And so I went into RPR, found the value, and I was like, well, according to RPR, you're just a couple thousand over, maybe 5,000 over the average of what this says you should be at. But there are other factors to take into account. But let's look at sales price to list price. If it's at 98% in that area, and we did the math, I was like, I mean, you should be looking at a $6,000 price reduction to just get in that sweet spot of where you should be.
Right. Right.
And it does not take into account sales price, like how many price reductions it took to get there. It doesn't, but you're just trying to get in that good spot. Number of expireds were down a little bit, 149 from last week, but we are up in average, up from 22 and 23. Number of agents, we gained 2 agents since last week.
Wow.
But we are down pretty significantly from, in 22 we had 8,700, in
Wow.
23 we had 88, and we are down to 8,500 now.
Wow.
So I think 2020 agents were sitting around, people, they got their license, they came in, joined, right, in 2021. And then everyone saw how much money people could make, so then they joined in 2023, and
Right.
we're gonna see them fade
Taper
back
off.
out as
Yeah.
we are in more of a skills-based market now, as opposed to you have to have a living pulse market.
Right.
And the interest rate, it did spike up a little bit, 6.75. No, I mean, that's pretty significant from last week jump. Um, it's still lower than the current average we've been tracking for the past couple of years. You look at 22 and 23, it was 7
Right.
and 8%. So we've come down 1.25% since last year is a big deal.
Right.
And I did just see something about the Fed doing their rate cut, so we'll just have to continue to watch and see. Um, but I think what Todd was saying is that they cut rates here at that 6% in anticipation for the Fed cutting their rate.
Okay.
I think we've already kind of seen the result of that, but we'll just have to keep watching. I think a lot they try to keep it fairly stable during an election season because they don't want it to skew one way or another. And then
Right.
after, of course, we'll have to see what happens. But good conversations to be having to our sellers, right? We are selling at 98% if we price appropriately. But set the expectation. There are more homes on the market right now. So we
Right.
have to make yours stand out. Days on market are a little bit longer. Um, so setting the expectation, and then with our buyers, it's like we might have some more options. The longer they sit, we might have opportunity for price reduction if warranted. So we're just playing 2 different games. Any thoughts, questions, concerns?
Yeah, I mean, I do have a couple thoughts. Um, and I don't know if this is the time or place or if I should call you back and ask about expireds. How do you approach expireds and how do you leverage that as an agent?
Yeah, that's a great question. So go into the MLS and look at expireds. Those are people who have raised their hand and said, I want to sell.
Right.
So, the best thing, unless you have the tools to scrub data and put their address and name in and get their phone number and email, the first thing you can be doing is either mailing or door knocking. So if there
Okay.
are some within an area, door knock, have something with you of value. whatever that value is, postcards or something with a call to action.
Okay.
They don't just get this postcard and say, well, what do you want me to do with this? They need to know what you want them to do on that postcard. Um, and I have some examples I can send to you if you shoot me a text,
Yes.
because I'll forget. But make an offer for immediate response, have a call to action on there, but I would door knock or I would mail them. And you got to be on it fast because there are other agents that are doing the same thing, and it's all
Right.
mind share. So you can't one postcard and done until you see it relisted. Once it's relisted, you're done because they have assigned agency with someone else. But until it's relisted, just keep getting them.
Okay.
Yep. And be unique. Tell them, look at the pictures of the house. See what opportunities there might be. How are you going to be different than their last agent?
Right.
Yeah, that's your value proposition. It's your elevator pitch. You got 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, those are ready, willing, and able sellers. They've raised their hand. They said, I want to sell.
Right.
It's a great opportunity.
Okay, and then speaking of opportunities, how you started talking about how we can find open houses that need hosts, and I missed that. That was last week. So
Yep.
so how do I go about locating the open houses that need hosting?
So let me see if I can go into the MLS. So if you go into your MLS
Yes.
and you're on your home page,
Mm-hmm.
go to My Matrix and then go to My Listings.
Okay.
And then up here it says My Listings. You can go click that arrow and find My Office Active Listings.
Ah,
That's everyone in our office. So anyone with an A, C, of course, means contingent, U means under contract, W means withdrawn.
okay.
Anything with an A, you can contact any of those agents and say, hey, I'm interested in hosting an open house at your
Well,
property. Could I do that?
that is awesome. Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yep. Let me know if you need any more help with that.
Nah, that's great. That's
or,
that's
or
huge.
when somebody says yes, see if you can find one for this weekend. If you can't, I think I'm hosting one for Ken on Sunday. If you
Okay.
cannot find one to do, if you're around Sunday, I think we're doing 12 to 2.
You
Uh,
know Sunday is a Steelers Cowboys game, right? You do
it's
know that.
it's at 8:05. It's an
Oh,
8:05 game.
oh, okay.
I know. My kids go into the game. It's 8:05. We are clear.
So like I'm a Cowboys fan and my husband is a Steelers fan and it's just gonna be war in this house.
I know it. So my brother was born in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I'm gonna stop this recording because nobody cares about this story. How do I do this? My brother, here we go.